Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson and Jenn Foster. We hope you're having a great day today. It's a fabulous day. Hey, we get a lot of questions all the time, and we get frequently asked questions, but I want to turn this into a learning experience for you, whether it's for writing a book or working on your brand story. So we have this secret we call the 10 by 10. And it's the most frequently asked questions and the most frequently asked answers that you give to those. So we're going to kind of go through some examples and give you a challenge that if you were to write down, just give yourself a timer like for 5 minutes and write down as many frequently asked questions as you can. We call it your top 10. So if you can get to 10, that would be great.
Yeah. So it's almost like when someone comes to you and asks you about your business or about what you do, what is that? What are those top 10 frequently asked questions? Like, what do people ask you?
Yeah. And they might be even, you may have like an FAQ on your website, which we do, but I just know it gets so much more involved. Like we didn't want to have 25 things on our website. So like an example, people will ask us, how long does it take to write my book? Hold on one second. So I'll say, it depends on the process they use, right? So we have a VIP day that we do. And in that day, they get like a third of their book written and it's all structured and the outline is done for them and their book can be done in 6 months. Some people spend years getting their book done, right? Because they don't maybe have the right process or system. So this is a way to kickstart your book by doing the 10 most frequently asked questions, answer those questions, but then give stories as an example. So the story I have is Donna Peters, right? She did our process. She did a VIP day. She created 10,000 words in that day. And then she went back and filled in all of the different chapters with the notes that we left her of things that had to be finished up in her book. And literally within 6 months, she had her book done. So, but then on the other side, there can be someone who doesn't follow that process. And, they can write their book and it might take them 6 months, might take them 3 months. It may take them over a year, depends on how much time that you allow to that. But I will tell you this, that you have ideas, you have things to teach and train. And unless you share them with somebody, it doesn't do anybody any good. So that's a reason to get your book out. Don't you think, Jenn?
Oh, definitely. I always remember the story that you tell, Melanie, which is the Apple story, Steve Jobs. Before he passed away, he recorded himself teaching all these different lessons, and it's in the Apple, archives, so that people can still learn from him, even though he's not around anymore. So you
Man,
really do have to write that down.
I should put that on my list. I haven't actually done that. We talk about that, but I really haven't gone in and done that. I think that would be a cool idea to do, and that could even turn into a book. So,
Yeah.
one way. Another frequently asked question we get all the time is, how do I get started? How do I know what to write about? And and I'm going to point that again to kind of the frequently asked questions, but also, what do you think people want to hear? What do you think they're interested in? What do you think gives someone the best value that they would want to know that you know? And it might be something you're talking about all the time. It might be your biggest superpower that you have. So it's maybe asking yourself that question of, what do people want to know from me? Or maybe asking your best friend or people in your circle or clients, what's like the number one and number two thing that you think you learned from me or going through my process did for you? And that's really important. So you can write upon that. And remember, there should be a theme. So many people forget that there should be a theme in their book and they want to write about all these different things, but really they have to tie together. So like for us, it might be publishing, why it's important to write and tell your story. And so we bring it back. For other people, it might be leadership, that they're telling stories and doing different things and teaching, but it all goes back to the leadership theme, or it goes back to negotiation or sales or processes and systems if they're nonfiction books. So remember to have that theme. Even in a fiction book, you still want to have that theme, whether it's the hero's journey or a story of love, that it's always kind of recapping that at the end of the day, they know that they read a love story or they know that they read a thriller. So you have to have that theme that runs through your book.
Yeah, and you have to be vulnerable. We just got off an interview for our podcast, Elite Expert Insider,
Mhm.
with Jeffrey Madoff, and he was talking about vulnerability and your brand story and really diving deep into, your whole story, the whole journey, not just
Mhm.
on the surface, but the deep dive into the vulnerability, and that's always a hard thing to do.
You know what's great about one of the things I think is great about writing a book, you have to dive deep and discover yourself and discover your own story as you're telling the story that you want to get across, even if it's for your expertise. And if you haven't done a whole brand thing, a book helps you do that. So people don't realize during the process of creating a book, not only are you creating this content that gives you great credibility, but you're also creating your brand story where you can take parts of that and then turn it into your about section on your website, turn it into your brand story on your website, turn it into your bio. I mean, we have our authors create a brand new bio and go through their bio. So you're getting a new bio for your website or your social media. And we grab all these quotes. So now all of a sudden you've probably created at least 1,000 to 2,000 quotes from your book that can be used on social media, that can be used to talk about. Use also, like if you have 7 chapters in your book, you've now created 7 new topics that you can speak on because of that. And people don't realize the quality and quantity of things that you're creating during the book process.
Yeah, so much repurposing you can do,
Mhm.
and it's really just about thinking about how can I repurpose this or how can I
Yeah.
use this? We recently just started a new podcast, Elite Publishing, so you can learn a lot more information about publishing, about writing, and that lives everywhere you can listen to podcasts. And we started it by repurposing some content that we had.
Yeah, because we did this great summit called The Future of Publishing, and we had different people on that talked about marketing your book, selling your book, writing your book, having a great mindset for your book.
Mhm.
So we were like, what are we going to do with these videos? So we repurposed it all into a new podcast. And we have a book called Podcast Authorized of how to turn your podcast into a book and a book into a podcast. So that's another great way to start your book is repurposing content or starting that. When we do our VIP day, that's one thing we ask our authors to do is to do an inventory of blog posts, speeches. We had an author, he was thinking about, I don't even know where to start. I just don't feel like I have much content. And then it turned out they had done over 150 speeches that were all different, by the way. They were all original speeches. We're like, oh my gosh, you've got all of this content already that we can be used in a book. So do an inventory of what you already have. You probably have newsletters, speeches, different content you've been creating, trainings, consultings, all that kind of thing that can turn into a book and give you a start
Yeah.
to create this asset.
And if you don't have that, go back to what Melanie was talking about in the beginning, which is the frequently asked questions. So we learned this early on in our careers with publishing. Actually learned it back in the digital marketing. So you think it was even like 2007, 2008, where we learned this from our mentor. So you do the top 10 frequently asked questions. You have the questions written out, you have the answers written out, and then you can expand on that. And we added another feature to it, which is you add 3 examples to that story. So you can have, third-party examples, you can have examples that happen to you, but you have examples for each question so that you have content. Now you have the story part. So on top of the frequently asked questions, you can also do should ask questions. And then you have 20 questions to put instead of 10.
That
So
almost sounded like SHIT questions.
good. Yeah, should ask questions. Should, yeah, because some people will ask you questions, but they're not the question they should be asking you.
Right. Like someone may ask, should I go with a traditional publisher or should I self-publish my book? And what they should be asking is, do you want to have control of your intellectual property or not? Because that's really one of the main differences between that traditional publishing and self-publishing. And even though you think, oh, I still have control over my content with traditional publishing, you really don't. You don't get to call the shots. You don't get to change the price. They're going to rewrite and edit your book. So there's a lot of differences. That's a whole nother live stream that we'll have to do just on that. But that's a good example, right? And as Jen was saying, examples are really stories, and that's what people connect with, are those stories, and knowing those stories. And they don't have to be all yours. They could be somebody else's. And I find when someone puts me under pressure, it's like, oh, okay, I've got to write down these stories or these questions. It's like my mind immediately goes blank. So I don't know why that is, but if I'm in the middle of a conversation with somebody and just casual and having a conversation, I can rattle off all of this stuff. So maybe have your favorite beverage. Maybe it's a glass of wine. Maybe it's a latte or something special, and that gets your brain going. And then have that conversation and just record it. We use a great tool called Otter that not only records the conversation, it's an audio recording, but it also transcribes it in real time. So then you also have the audio and the transcription that you can start to copy and paste and put into a book as well. So as they say at Nike, the thing is just do it. Just go ahead and do it. Get a start on it, make you feel like if you've wanted to write a book for a long time, you just need to start with that 10 by 10 frequently asked questions and should ask questions, and put stories into it. And then you'll start to have a book and you'll think, oh my gosh, 2023 is going to be the year that I am going to get my book out there, get it published. And not only that, I'm going to create all of this great content that I can use on all my other social media platforms. So, and if you need help with that, we're always here, Elite Online Publishing. You can contact us, go to our website, fill out our author submission form, and see if you're a great fit to work with us. We're a global publishing company. We work with people from all over the world, Italy, Switzerland, the Bahamas, Australia. So we have clients everywhere. And we'd be happy to work with you if we're a good fit for each other.
Yeah, so go ahead to our website and you can hit the submission form. And we're also going to be live next week on Wednesday, the 15th. We're going to be live at 10 Central. If you want to come on and ask us some questions, we're going to be talking mostly book marketing. So what to do with your book once it's published. So if you're an author or if you're thinking about being an author, marketing is what you need to know.
Yeah, and I'm going to second that. Even if you don't have your book published yet, but you're going to be publishing your book, these are things that you're going to need to know. Marketing is probably the most frequently asked question we get all the time. How do I market my book? And you should really start marketing your book now. People say, well, when should I start marketing it? I'm going to wait until I get it all ready and it's ready to publish. The moment that you want to write a book, you need to start talking about it on social media. And once you have your book cover, you should be marketing it as well. We always like to get people involved, even in the book cover process, to get your team involved in it and your tribe involved in it. So I think it's a great thing. Jump on it. We are going to have an offer. So that will be some courses and an offer for best-selling books. So yeah, jump on that and you're going to learn a ton from that content.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next time.
Have a great week, everybody. We love you. Bye.
Have a great week. Bye.